When everything is marketing and marketing is everything, taglines and trends are just the tip of the proverbial iceberg. On the M Word, we're talking marketing and mission and the pursuit of what's personal. I'm your host, Jennifer Mulchandani, and you are listening to the M Word podcast presented by Arlington Strategy. On today's episode, I'm talking with Tara Meehan, a marketing executive for nearly 20 years, mostly working in financial services. We talk about how Tara's desire to work with people whose values aligned with hers led her to found Meehan Marketing, a marketing consultancy focused on LinkedIn optimization and networking, content development, and digital marketing. We address some common misperceptions of marketing and marketers and dive into the growing need for marketing expertise in the age of AI. That's right, I said we are needed more, not less. Take a listen and enjoy. Tara, thank you so much for being here on the M Word podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I'm excited for this conversation too. Why don't you just set the stage? Like, I know you are in marketing and you went out on your own, not so long ago, I think. Tell me a little bit about your business.
Yeah, so about a year and a half ago, I started my own consultancy, Meehan Marketing. And basically, it's incorporating nearly 2 decades worth of marketing experience into the consultancy, with about 14 really focused on financial services, wealth management, insurance. The core of what I do is it starts with LinkedIn. So LinkedIn best practices, profile optimization, leveraging your network, asking for introductions, and then aligning your content strategy to what you do on LinkedIn. And that's my favorite thing to do. So that's really the first part where we get set up. And then working with clients on what their goals are and just making sure that the approaches they've been taking are in alignment with what those goals are. And it's very common, especially CEOs or advisors or people who are in business for themselves. They get very distracted by the new thing out there. And sometimes it's in alignment with the goal is, but a lot of times it's just a distraction. So just keeping them focused on the goal at hand. A little bit of search engine optimization, not much, because that whole landscape right now is very much in flux, but really focused on brand development, telling a compelling story through content, and the LinkedIn piece is really the foundation of everything that I do over at the consultancy.
Yeah, so I'm curious because, you lead with LinkedIn, and I remember when we talked before, you talked about that, and then it's, do you find that that's the piece that people understand? They're like, oh yeah, well, I know I'm supposed to be doing LinkedIn, and they don't understand that, well, it's actually a piece of brand and it's one tactic and a digital strategy and all that. Like, is that where that focus is coming from, or is that because that's just so critical in your mind of like, for your target market and who you want to be working with, that's the untapped sort of business opportunity for you?
Yeah, so for me, LinkedIn is the network that still is the most misunderstood. There's a lot, even today in 2025, many people just think of it as still a resume repository, which may have been where it was in the early 2010s, but it's really evolved to a relationship building platform. If you're going to be doing business, I don't really care what your vertical is or what your industry is. If you're going to be leveraging your connections and your network, the place you need to be on is LinkedIn, because it's where your network is. It's where the people that you want to do business with are. Sure, there are other social networks and they get a little bit more play, and they may be sexier. I'm as big a TikTok fan as the next person. I can get lost in scrolling for hours on end. But when it comes to impact for your business and for your growth, wherever you are, there really, in my opinion, is no better place to do that than LinkedIn. And it's a place to establish your brand and really tell the story of your business, and really set your marketing strategy up to be in alignment with your brand.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree at all. For you in building your business, like how obviously you're on LinkedIn, but how much time are you spending as a business owner trying to sort of establish yourself?
It's funny. I just did a video on this actually this morning. I think business owners, my clients, people I want to work with, people I've worked with in the past, and myself included, you can get so wrapped up in time management and thinking you don't have the time to do certain things. And really, when it comes to LinkedIn or any other, marketing initiative, for me, and I'll use, LinkedIn as the focus here, it's setting time on your schedule on like a Monday morning or over the weekend to put the messaging out there that you want to put out, go through what your network's talking about, see what people have been posting on your network, and really do that heavy lifting on one day so you're
Mhm.
not feeling overwhelmed. Um, I love the network, so I'm always on it for work and really for my own, personal enjoyment and education and learning. So I
Mhm.
may not be the best person to ask that question of because I'm literally always on it. But for folks who are building their business regardless of what the industry is, and they need to be out in front of people and taking on meetings and working on policies, in the financial advisor sector that I work with the most, they do have to manage their time, and being on LinkedIn is not the
Mhm.
priority for them. So really, kind of using those strategies to book 15 to 30 minutes a week makes that a lot more manageable, and it kind of takes the excuses out of not having the bandwidth to do that.
Yeah. So, what made you go out on your own?
I I don't know if I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I'm very much I like the routines of an everyday work situation. But at the same time, there's a frustration that sets in, and I think a lot of marketers can relate to this, where, and it may be unique to marketing, at least that's my perspective, because it's the role, it's where I've lived for nearly 20 years, that marketers, they aren't always considered to be the the leaders or the subject matter experts that they are. You can come into a campaign or into a role and have a bunch of experience and have all the best practices behind you and know what you're doing. But because it's so difficult to really track from an ROI perspective, what the results of a campaign are in terms of revenue, it's easy for people outside of marketing to come in and think they can do it better. And so you run into that a lot. And it
The
comes from a
product
good place.
experts or, the developer or whoever.
Right.
Yeah.
It comes from a good place. I mean, people, they have goals and they have objectives and they want to be successful. And marketers want that more than anyone because it's the messaging that they're trying to tell to move
Mhm.
that needle forward. But when you're consistently up against it, being told that you're the idea person, but then the ideas aren't used, um, it leaves you scratching your head. And it got to a point where I just was like, you know what? I know what I'm doing. People have come to trust me. I know the clients I want to work with. I know the people I want to work with. Why don't I just try to do this? And so that was the thinking behind it. Has it been the easiest transitions? No. But it's been fun, and I learn every day different ways to go about my relationships, and I think that's helped me, especially in entering year two. Definitely seen that growth happen where I'm at a good place where I feel like I don't have to go chasing for everyone. I have my niche, and I'm comfortable there.
Yeah. So that, that brings up like an interesting, I don't know if it's a hurdle, it's like a necessary part of startups is that who's my customer? Who do I say yes to? And getting to a point where you could be like you're eating, right? Like in the beginning, you need to fish because like you're
Yep.
hungry, and then you get to a point where it's like, okay, I'm not, I can be more discerning. And so, has that evolved for you? Like, have you gotten to a point where it's not about I'll take all the work I can get, but more specifically around I'm gonna go after. work that is meaningful to me or that aligns with me now that
Mhm.
you're the chief decision maker for yourself?
Yeah, for sure. And actually less on the vertical side, but then just more on the people I want to work with side.
Mhm.
I think then coming from the financial services world and the wealth management world, you can encounter many strong personalities.
Okay, that was in quotes for those listening.
Um,
Strong personalities were in air quotes.
and those strong personalities are often coming from, again, a very good place of wanting to put their clients in the best position to be successful. That being said, when you're working for a corporation and you're working with those folks, um, you really have to kind of bend bend your values is strong, but definitely bend your perspective a bit to satisfy their objectives. And you get to tolerate, or you're made to tolerate in many instances, behavior that may be completely out of alignment with your own values.
Okay,
Um,
you're getting into the juicy stuff.
yeah.
Um, Stay there for a minute and talk
Okay.
about for you, for Tara,
Mhm.
alignment with your values. Like, were you was there a pivotal point where you felt that you either had to swallow something that was just unswallowable,
Mhm.
or you know what I mean, like push up against the wall
Yeah.
that broke you to stay in that environment?
Yeah. So I'll obviously keep names out of this, but speaking in generalities, um, there was an instance where I was in a meeting and this meeting kind of got a little off the rails in terms of messaging. It was a firm-wide meeting, and the person leading the meeting started saying things that were overtly misogynist, overtly, against the LGBTQ community, which I am a part of. And when confronted on that, um, the response was, "Oh, well, I have a lot of gay friends. This is not, I'm not, I have many women I work with." And that wasn't a unique circumstance. I mean, I think that anyone in corporate America, regardless of whether you're in marketing or sales, will run into that from time to time. I don't know why that was kind of the moment where I thought, okay, I really need to zero in on doing this on my own. But that pretty much crystallized it. And the thinking for me was, I have all this knowledge. I've worked with great people. I've had the pleasure of working with some of the nicest people and kindest people um, in financial services who genuinely want, again, what's best for their clients, and really what's best for communities and the world at large. Um, I need to focus on working with those people and give myself the opportunity and the permission to say, I don't want to work with people who are a-holes, essentially, who aren't in alignment with my values and the values of the people that I've worked with in the past. And so now, as someone who's in business for myself, it's very liberating to be able to say, I don't want to work with you. I don't care if you have $50 million in AUM in your with your clients. That could result in a big, client engagement for me financially. But what would that mean for me personally? And I'm not willing to do that. No shade for people who are. We are all come from different perspectives.
How do you ensure that alignment? I mean, is that just in how you market yourself? Is that in the discovery call? Like, at what point are you like, so, here are my values, and
Mm,
I invite you to respect them, and if you don't, like, thank you for the interest, but no. Like, how we talk
sure.
about this a lot because I think the alignment with, sort of, and I always encourage businesses. So whether you're a sole practitioner or you have a huge team, like businesses establishing values as like they're the box they're willing to play in. And I think especially in marketing, where we get a bad name anyway, right? We're willing to
Mhm.
say anything, do anything, smoke and mirrors, lie through our teeth. All we want to do is make the sale, right? This is what the M word is born from, like marketing. Um,
Right.
So how do you, as someone who what I'm hearing is a big push for you to establish yourself on your own in your own business was you wanted to be more values aligned for yourself.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
how do you make sure that the asshole doesn't show up on your client roster?
I think it's a very organic process. For me, it starts with sharing my story, and again, through my LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn is the only
Mhm.
network I'm on. I made a decision business-wise that I didn't need to be on Meta. I'm just focusing on LinkedIn. So my profile is very reflective of who I am. It leads with that I'm part of the LGBTQ plus community right in my tagline. So there's no secrets there. And you can infer that, with other issues that I
Mhm.
may or may not support. Um, so I lead with that. I do not begrudge anyone's political viewpoints from a business perspective. But if after a call that I have with a prospective client, and then I, speak with people that, know this person, because 99% of the client calls I get or prospective client calls I get are from referrals. If I'm being referred to this person from someone I know and trust, that speaks volumes. After
Mhm.
I have the call with the prospective client, you can tell just as the conversation is going and the research you do, is this someone who is just not going to be someone that I can vibe with? Or is it
Mhm.
someone that we're on the same page and we may not agree on everything, but this is a genuinely kind person? I just want to work with kind people. Like I value my mental health. I value um myself and the work I've done. I don't need the added stress of working with someone who's just going to treat me poorly. I'm at a point in my career where I know what I can tolerate and I know what I you want out of an engagement. And so
Mhm.
that's kind of where I am at this point.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So I'd love to ask guests this, and I need to do some more research to find out if I'm even asking it correctly. So you can give me feedback on this. I I feel like there are kind of two types of business owners or entrepreneurs and probably professionals. I feel like there's the traditional goal setter, the people who they write it down, they have their long range plan, they know what they're aiming to achieve. And then I think there's what I call the opportunistic person who, and I put myself in that second category. It's like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. Let me open that door and go through and explore it. And goals, how do I know what I'm going to want a year from now? I just want to keep, doing things that feel great to me, or and maybe that's a false, uh, line on two sides, and maybe they can coexist. But like, how do you do? Are you a goal driven person? Are you opportunistic, or do you see yourself as crossing both sides?
I'd say I'm a hybrid of the two. I, I
Hmm.
I I don't think there's a right or a wrong approach to goal setting. Um, my goals are never like I'm gonna wake up at 5 in the morning and work out. Like that's not my goal. And I'm never going to listen to a podcast that's like, you need to do that. Your goals are your goals, and the way you come about them is fine. Um, I do think when you are setting goals in any aspect of your life, business, personal, you need to allow for some pivots along the way. Being rigid isn't going to serve you in the long run. Things are constantly moving and evolving. From a marketing perspective, because that's, professionally the world I come from, you can have a macro goal, like maybe it's building brand awareness, right? And that could be your goal for the year. But what if after 2 quarters, you see that people are aware of your brand? So are you going to stick with that as your goal for the rest of the year? Probably not. You may want to pivot to, okay, so we have brand awareness. Maybe it's time to start an engagement strategy or a lead generation strategy. So having the big goal is important because it keeps you focused on what that big objective is, but you really need to allow yourself to be agile, to be able to pivot and take it maybe not in 30-day intervals, but give yourself a quarter to think about the tactics and the execute and how you're executing towards that goal.
Yeah.
And then do you need to continue with that line of strategy in the next quarter? Maybe, maybe not. So again, a hybrid approach, I think, works for a lot of people, works for me. And really the best goal setting strategy is the one that works best for you. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So what when you look ahead, like what are the challenges that you see facing your business or what you're trying to accomplish professionally?
um, I think one challenge, well, I'll say two, one for me personally, but I think in the industry as a whole. Um, for me, it's staying focused on what I know. I've thought about dabbling in different um, social networks and different environments or different technologies. Um, and that's all well and good, and there's a place for that. But I can't help my clients set up a strategy on TikTok if I don't really know what that strategy should be for myself. So I really, the challenge for me is staying focused and grounded in the things that I know so I can then support my clients with those things.
Mm-hmm.
From an industry perspective, AI is always the thing that people speak of as being the next great frontier, and definitely that's happening. I worry from a human perspective and a content perspective about how people are starting to rely on it more and more for
Mm-hmm.
output as
Yeah.
opposed to just ideation. AI is great in my business for setting up outlines for blogs, for giving me like a draft of social posts, but it's you can smell it, you can see it from a mile away. Like if you're on somebody's feed, it's the minute you see unlock or this is an evolving, this is an evolving industry and all those like big words that AI always says. It's not what it's used for. And I think it just hurts creativity as a whole and makes
Mm-hmm.
marketers and content creators seem expendable, which we we are not. If anything, we're needed more in the AI environment.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's what AI is doing is it's like this homogenization of message and like what people hire marketers to do is stand out.
Right.
It's like and it's
Yeah.
so it's like to me diapet by dia oh my God, no words coming to me. It's oppose. Those are opposing forces. And I think I mean it sort of goes back to what you were talking about earlier, just this idea that people who don't understand marketing like at the highest level in terms of like the role of everything from brand creation, brand awareness to creating a user acquisition journey and
Mhm.
everyone thinks like oh it's an ad and then sales and then we want to make money
And
off
the
of it.
sales
Like
come.
people don't understand marketing and so it's which is always fascinating to me because being in the business and you're the same it's like clearly people need our help. That's why we're doing
Right.
what we're doing. Um, but I do think there's this like trust issue with the fact that it's so much more than a cute tagline or a pretty ad or whatever it is, that it is so holistic and it can be extraordinarily strategic and to your point, tied to goals.
For
Um,
sure.
but marketing often seems expendable, like we're below the line or something, and not part of like a core business function, which is
Yeah.
which is bonkers to me. But
No, me too. And it's a long game. Like
yeah,
one of the first things I'll say to clients on a call is if you're engaging with me because you expect that the first social post that we put out is going to generate an insurance policy for $1 million, then I wish you the best of luck. But that's not going to happen. And you may find someone who's going to tell you it is, and that's great. Go with that person. And again, I wish you well. But that's not the way this works. This is a
Mhm.
long game, and it's a trust building exercise. And I think that's the way I really established trust early on with clients or prospective clients because I'm very open about that. This is a long process. The customer to client journey in financial services can take up to 18 months, even longer. So you really need to be patient and commit to the messaging. And once I get clients to do that and prospects to think that, oh, that makes sense,
Mhm.
things tend to work out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, I'd like to always end, Tara, with some fun rapid fire questions that have absolutely potentially nothing to do with what we just talked about,
Cool.
uh, but related. And I think you answered this one. I'm going to ask it. And well, no, I'm not going to presume because this doesn't have to be for your business. This is just you, Tara. What's your favorite social media?
I don't think it's a surprise that it's LinkedIn, although, like I said, Instagram, TikTok is super fun, and I can get lost in all of the crazy trends for hours on end. So, um, LinkedIn overall, but 1A would be TikTok.
Okay. Taylor Swift. Yay, nay, or just don't care?
Um, Most of the times I don't care. When I'm in my car, she's on the playlist, so I'm all for it. I think she's super cool. I'm not upset that the Chiefs lost the Super Bowl, although I'm not an Eagles fan. I was just getting a little tired of the Travis Taylor situation, but Taylor overall, I mean, you can't argue she's a powerhouse, especially as a businesswoman. I
Mhm.
mad respect.
Um, is there a book you always recommend
Book
or
I
that
always
you like to
recommend.
recommend?
Um, from a fiction standpoint, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. To this day, I could read the books and get lost in them. Um, Nonfiction wise, I love biographies and memoirs. I just read the Prince Harry memoir, which
I read that one too.
was surprisingly impactful. I really,
Agree.
it's a very good read.
I totally agree. It really it opened my eyes to a lot. I like that one a lot. And
Yeah,
have you read, it's an older one now, but it's Catherine Graham's autobiography.
I have not.
It's like a huge, but she's the former publisher owner of the Washington Post.
Okay.
She's I don't believe she's alive anymore. Um, so this is an much older book, but it's like it's like going, it's almost as if, what is that, page six, like that celebrity gossip column, but from someone who's covering like world events on the news side. Fascinating, well written autobiography.
Okay. I'll check that out.
My last question for you is, where do you want to go on your next vacation?
Well, I have a honeymoon coming up
Oh, well, congratulations.
in January to Cabo. So that's I would say that's the one I'm looking forward to the most. If I had to pick another vacation, I had been to Prague um, about a little over a decade ago. Would love to go back and this time really focus on some family history because I'm a big genealogy nerd. So that would be a very cool place to go back to visit.
Yeah, a beautiful city. I've only seen it in
Yeah,
the winter, but
it's amazing.
yeah, I agree, agree. Wonderful. Well, this was a great conversation, Tara. I really appreciate you being here and sharing your perspectives and your story. And we will certainly put your LinkedIn in the show notes. But if folks want to
Cool.
get a hold of you, what's your website? Where can they reach you?
Website is meehanmarketing.com, and easy to find on LinkedIn. So you can look for that profile link in the notes.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again for being on the M Word podcast, Tara.
Thank you. This was great. I had a lot of fun.
Me too. Thanks for listening to the M Word. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Subscribe and never miss a podcast. Visit arlingtonstrategy.com for more. The M Word is an Arlington Strategy production hosted by Jennifer Mulchandani. Our theme music is by Mucci. Graphic design by Kayla Fagan and Emily Rare. Sound engineering and editing by Ben Mulchandani.